Hey guys, Gogsy here, and welcome to this bit of extra content. Today I've been joined by my mate Declan Hughes. How's it going, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Literally just woke up about an hour ago. Anyway, today we are previewing the international break. We have 3 massive games for Scotland as we take on Denmark away and Moldova at home and Austria away. So first of all, we're going to just go and get cracking into the topic of the squad selection because Steve Clarke selected quite a big squad, and we're just going to talk about it and see who we think should be playing in the upcoming 3 matches. First of all, let's have a look at the goalkeepers. Declan, is there anyone out there that in the goalkeepers that you think has been left out that should have stayed in, see as we've changed 2 goalkeepers?
No, I think he's pretty much got it spot on in terms of the goalkeeping department. I guess I'm surprised that Marshall's not included, just because you know what Clark's like with his loyalties to players, and although Marshall's now third choice at Derby, I thought that he would be in the squad anyway, just because of what he's done for us in recent times. But nah, he has got it spot on in my eyes, and you know what I mean. They're the three keepers that I'd be going with as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Liam Kelly and Zander Clark are both overdue. I mean, Liam Kelly
got Player of the Year, didn't he, last season?
For Motherwell, yeah. Kelly was last in the Scotland squad, 2.5 years ago. So it's good to have him back, and Zander Clark, I think that's his first proper call up.
Oh, so, he definitely deserves a place. Yeah. And in my opinion, he deserves to start.
Really? You think he can start?
I don't think that's that bold of a shout, considering how well he's played the last season, and into this season he's carried the form on. He showed it against Galatasaray. I think that, you know, we give St Johnstone credit for going over to Turkey and you know, holding on to a good result, but he was a big reason for that. Like, if it wasn't for him, it could have been much worse. And even in the home leg, there was some saves he made, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Gordon can make good saves as well, but I just think it's Zander Clark's time.
Gordon's a really good shot stopper, but when a ball's put into the box, he just shits himself. And with
the ball at his feet, we all know what he's like. Yeah. I know Zander Clark's not anything special with his feet, but I've not really seen him make a lot of blunders.
And that's for Liam Kelly. I think his time will come, but just not the now. I think he'd be started against the likes of the Faroe Islands or Israel.
Do you think he'll rotate the keepers, or do you think they'll stick with the one throughout?
I think we've got quality across the goalkeepers. I mean, internationally standards wise, I think we have an average set of goalkeepers. I mean, they're great for Scotland, but they're not that great in the grand scheme of things. If you look at the likes of Germany, France, Italy, we're going way above us. But I think we've got 3 goalkeepers there that we can rotate, and the quality will stay throughout.
No, I agree. He probably, I don't know, he always looks for kind of consistency in that department, so I could see him sticking with Gordon. You know, I think he will start with Gordon, but just in my opinion, I think Zander Clark more than deserves his chance to, you know, prove himself at that level now. So
yeah. Moving on to defenders, we've got Liam Cooper, Declan Gallagher, Grant Hanley, Jack Hendry, Scott McKenna, Stephen O'Donnell, Nathan Patterson, Andy Robertson, Greg Taylor, and Kieran Tierney. Am I right in thinking this is like the exact same crop of players that were in the Euros?
I think it pretty much. If you were to put McTominay in the bracket defenders, then he would be the only one missing. But you know, yeah, it's pretty much the same. And obviously we're going to speak about it, but I can't really argue too much with who he's chosen there. Apart from maybe one.
Greg Taylor.
Well, I'm more roused in being included, but Greg Taylor as well. I don't know, I suppose Greg Taylor offers a wee bit more protection because Tierney plays in the middle. So if you were to still, I think if I don't know. I think in the likes of against Denmark, and if Tierney was to get injured, if Robertson was to get injured, they'd maybe look to keep Tierney centrally and play Taylor. I think that's why he's there. Like, a lot of people just look and think, oh, we've got 2 left backs, but so why do we need Taylor? But it's probably because Tierney's more preferred in that central defensive role, just because I think we need him there more.
And then used as a potential overlapping centre back as well.
Yeah, which he's unbelievable at as well. So.
Yeah. Midfielders, we've got Stuart Armstrong, Lewis Ferguson with his first ever call-up, Billy Gilmour, John McGinn, Callum McGregor, Kenny McLean, and David Turnbull. Is there anyone in the sort of Scotland roster that you think should maybe have been called up ahead of any of these players?
I was having a look before we came on. I don't know, I don't know who they'd necessarily replace or who he'd necessarily replace, but I was thinking Scott Wright. Just on current form, he seems to have, really found a place in this Rangers team, and he's played really well, from when I've seen him, and I've seen other Rangers fans, raving about him. So I'd argue maybe him. And don't get me wrong, I think he is a good option to have in the Scotland team, but it's a matter of who he replaces. And I'm just looking at them going by in the bottom bar now. It's really hard to say who, because, Ferguson, I think he deserves his chance, and he's a different kind of player from Wright. I think Wright's more attacking, Ferguson's obviously better in a deeper role. You could maybe argue Kenny McLean, but I don't think there can be too much arguments with that one. But I do think that Scott Wright can feel hard done by, that he's maybe not got a call up.
Yeah, of course. At the time of this recording, Kenny McLean also scored the other night as well for Norwich. So he's found some good form at the moment. Also, David Turnbull scoring a hat-trick as recently.
He more than definitely deserves to be in that squad.
Yeah, and hopefully he actually gets used this time, because he might as well just be at home during the Euros.
I know, but we'll obviously come on to predicted lineups and stuff, but I think now is his time to be used. Yeah. I thought it could have been used before, but a lot of folk were saying it was too soon and stuff like that. But now it's not, because he's come into such a right, bit of form, and I think that
we all remember his debut against Holland, and he was absolutely superb against them. So hopefully he can be used against the likes of Denmark and Austria as well. And
he's shown he can do it at the top level. Do you know what I mean? You see the game where he played against Lille for Celtic.
Oh,
he was superb. They went on to win the title, so he can do it. I'm sure that Clark has no doubt in his ability, but it's just unfortunate for players like him that he's playing in a quite a crowded position. Yeah, it's probably our strongest position on the park. So,
and we'll move on. And we'll move on to the forwards: and Shea Adams, Ryan Christie, Lyndon Dykes, James Forrest, Ryan Fraser, and Kevin Nisbet. We all have to bring up the question about Ryan Gauld, whether he's a midfielder or an attacker. But he's been playing recently quite well for Vancouver Whitecaps, and the fact he's still been left out. Does Steve Clark even know he exists?
It's another one. Like, where do you fit him in? That's my question. It's also one that you can't argue with. I know, repeated that phrase time and time again, but I just don't know where Gauld fits in. I think I see him as more like a kind of Ryan Christie type, and I'd much prefer Christie there than Gauld. I don't know if that's maybe just a bit of ignorance on my part, because I've not watched a lot of Gauld, but I don't think Gould's doing what Christie's doing right now. I'm always a firm believer in you go with players that are on form currently. Which, don't get me wrong, he kind of is, but it's just where they fit him in. I just don't see who he replaces in that squad. So it's just unfortunate for him, to be honest.
And the next topic is surprise inclusions / exclusions. Is there anyone that you think shouldn't be in the squad bar Greg Taylor.
No, I'm not going to be harsh on Taylor because, as I
Yeah.
said, I think we do need that added left back because
cover,
of
yeah.
Tierney's central role, and even more so now because Tierney and Robertson are just coming off injuries, which I actually thought they wouldn't make the squad, but they have. So I think Taylor should be there on that basis. Scott Wright, as I said, probably can feel a bit hard done by for the way he's been playing. He's really stepped up when Rangers have needed him so far, so I think he'll be disappointed. And I think the obvious one really, Tony Ralston. I don't know what else he can do to get in that squad personally, and I know I've gave credit to Clark for changing his ways, shall we say, with the goalkeeping thing and kind of going with new keepers and giving them a chance, but I just think he's still got that habit of persisting with his favourites, as people are well aware, and Taylor's obviously one of them, but Taylor probably should be in the squad, and O'Donnell is one of them, and I've watched O'Donnell at the start of this season, and he's not had a great start. I'm sure you know that more than anyone.
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, Stephen O'Donnell, obviously there is talent and experience there. This season he's not really displayed it. He gave away a penalty in the opening day of the season. I mean, it was unfortunate. I mean, I think he was just there at the wrong place at the wrong time. Same with the own goal he scored at St Johnstone. I mean, if Kane Woolery had headed the ball away instead of missing it completely, then the ball would have hit off Stephen O'Donnell and gone in. So, but the thing is, he's been out for the last 2 games as well. So, I've no idea why, but I think it's just because his experience there in the team sort of.
It will be. It will be based on the fact he was part of the squad for the Euros, and this is another crucial couple of weeks in terms of Scotland going on and qualifying for another major tournament. So I think he'll look at that and he'll just think the experience. That if you were to ask Steve Clark right now why Ralston's not in the squad and why O'Donnell is, I'm almost positive his response would be because of experience. But as I said, I think that players on form who's performed better at even a better level should be in the squad. I was always an advocate of Patterson being in the squad when people would say that, he's only played 10 games or whatever the number was. I think he played 16 last season. I'm not sure, maybe more. But he's got quality. The games he did play, he was like a man of the match, if not man of the match contender in one of the old firms. He scored in Europe. He's playing against top level opposition in Europe, and that's the way I see it with Ralston now. I just feel like you're in a position where you're at the front of all the country's hopes, and you've got to make big calls. And maybe he's just played it safe with O'Donnell, but I won't be kicking up too much of a fuss about it until O'Donnell scores an own goal, and then I'll have a pop at Clark. But till then, I don't.
I also think it's because Stephen O'Donnell's a different type of right back to Nathan Patterson. Nathan Patterson's very much an attacking fullback, whereas I think Stephen O'Donnell's more defensive minded, because they have spoken before. It's sort of like a shoestring. Like when Robertson goes up, O'Donnell
he stays back.
Stays back, and it's like a back four.
But was O'Donnell not renowned for how well he went forward at Kilmarnock? Because I know that Steve Clark played a style where he was first and foremost difficult to break down. But from when watching O'Donnell with Kilmarnock, I thought that, don't get me wrong, he actually did well at Kilmarnock, and so did Taylor. And they both done well at complementing each other. If one went, one stay, or both getting up and down the park. I think they contributed very well to that successful side that Kilmarnock had. But I just think it's a common misconception with Patterson that he's obviously, don't get me wrong, he's an attacking fullback, but he's a modern day fullback. He can defend. I've no doubts in my mind that about that. I think he can defend. So even if you play him there at right back, you can still tactically play that same way, if you get me. Like, so Patterson can stay, Robertson can go, and you can still do that with Patterson. Like, it's not like that can't happen. But obviously, as you said, I think that when needed, Patterson could offer you more because of his attacking ability as well. So,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think Nathan Patterson will be starting one of the games.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be putting a big amount of cash on that happening. But you could obviously argue Moldova, but I think.
Anyway, I think we shall move on to the Denmark away preview, as that is the first game coming up this week. So, Declan, I'd like you to list off who would you be starting in this game.
I just got it on my phone in front of me. That's why I'm looking down. So, goalkeeper, obviously Xander Clark. I think I made that quite, apparent when I was raving about him at the start of the show. I just think the saves he's been making, the performance he's been putting in. Again, what more can you ask of him? I know Gordon's like got that experience. He's like, he's played at the top level with Celtic for years. He's been in the big games and he can make big saves. But I just think like you're calling up Xander Clark and Liam Kelly because it's almost like it's the new era of goalkeepers. So play one of them. Do you know what I mean? Play Clark, in my opinion. The way he's been playing the whole of last season and the start of this season and the saves he's been making. He made a couple at the weekend there as well. I think I seen one on Twitter yesterday. Was it against Dundee United? And it was unbelievable. Like he seems to have really. He was always one of the goalkeepers where he struggled to find consistency. I thought he'd play well against like a Celtic or something, like a few years back, and then obviously not like the last. Well, I think it was not last season, but the season before. I think we beat them quite well up there. But there was times where like in the past he would go and he would play well against like a Celtic, and then the next week he would, he wouldn't play as well, and it would be like so inconsistent. But now in the past year, into the start of that season, he's found consistency. So I'd go with him. I'd go with him and give him a chance. Back three, probably. Well, obviously, I think I'm going for a 3-5-2 here with obviously the two wing backs. Back three, I don't think it will be that surprising, but went for Henry on the right. I think he's proved a lot of people wrong. He made that mistake in the Euros, but he's definitely shown that he can step up, and I think he flourished in a country where there wasn't a lot of expectation or pressure on him, and that's got his confidence back. And I think there was rumours of him going to Torino and stuff. Like they had activated their,
Really?
They had a clause like that they could buy him at the end of the loan deal, the Belgian team, and obviously, I think it was almost rumoured that they were going to make like an instant profit on him and sell him on. I think Torino were interested. He's shown that he's got the capabilities now, and I'd play him. Next in the centre of the back three, I don't know if I'm his biggest fan, but Grant Hanley. And to be fair, he actually did play quite well to a certain extent in the Euros. And
he was their best defender, in my opinion.
Aye, he was, yeah. And that was exceeding expectations for me because I wasn't expecting anything of him really going into that. And then left centre back, I'd go with Tierney. Obviously, I don't know the proper extent of his injury, or if he's struggling, or he's just about made the squad. So I don't know if he will play. But in my eyes, obviously Tierney's left. I think that goes without saying. But everyone would play him.
I think what you've got so far, I mean, the only change I would make is Craig Gordon in goals, but that's based on like how he's been in the past in the big games. But I think your back three is spot on for me.
But see when you like look at Gordon, right? Like, and I always say this to people because, like, even when we speak to Adam about it, like, loves him, like Hearts greatest ever keeper and all that. But like, see the mistakes he's made in big games when playing at Celtic, like. It's madness. So you're talking about big game experience, but like he's made mistake after mistake in the big games, I remember the one against Salzburg, I think it was. He goes to he has the ball, comfortable position as a goalkeeper, goes to try and take a short throw, and he he literally hits it off the striker's leg, striker's through, scores. That one against the Alba when he came out and halved Greg Spence, karate kicked him on his chest, stuff like that. He's just got that in him, I think. And he's flourishing at Hearts because he knows he's their main man kind of thing, and he's loved so much. Whereas he was more like a number to us, with all due respect. So right wing back, I've went for Patterson. Just think he's the best right back in the squad. As simple as that, really. I just think, obviously experience can play a part, but it's not like when you take out O'Donnell and play Patterson, you've got no experience anywhere else. You've got experience all over the park, so it's not going to I just don't think that really.
As the saying goes, if you're old enough, you're good enough.
Exactly. Age is only a number in football.
If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Patterson, as I've said, played at a high level in Europe, played in old firms, out of skin in old firms. He's had his taste of Scotland as well, and a few months back he's had the taste of playing the odd time, and now I think he's ready to make that transition into the starting 11.
I'm inclined to agree, but that's based on the fact that Stephen O'Donnell's not played the last 2 weeks. He's not even kicked the ball. Not even.
Well, that's also a reason why he probably should.
Yeah. So I mean, you're absolutely right.
So left wing back, Robbo, obviously. Don't think we need to go into him too much, even though I do think he underperforms for Scotland sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Whether that's just the system,
but that's because in the past. That's because in the past he's allowed to bomb on forward, and Van Dijk will cover for him for his club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Van Dijk can make up some amount of yards.
Whereas Robbo bombs forward and looks up in the box, and Oliver Mike Burney's there.
I know.
It's the least inspiring thing. Sorry.
Sorry. So a midfield three. Obviously,
this is a tricky one.
Yeah. Well, I've went from McGregor, Billy Gilmore, and John McGinn.
Yeah.
McGregor and Gilmore maybe slightly deeper. I wouldn't say stick on deep, but just deeper than McGinn, kind of just in front of them. I just think, I don't know what it is. I like McGinn as I think he could do the role of being a defensive midfielder as well, but he's just got that bit about him that he's really tenacious, and he just gets about the pitch and throws himself about, and that area where you're needing to press well, I think he does that really well. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you can, make the odd, rash challenge or stuff like that, but I do think he's important.
That just comes with experience.
That's part and parcel of the role that's part and parcel of why he's the player he is, because he gets that arse into players, and it's hard to budge him once that happens, and just think that he's good to have in that area of the pitch, whereas you've got Gilmore, who's probably a good ball retriever and carrier and stuff, and just behind him, he can kind of dictate play mode, and then you've got McGregor, who can almost have that free role where he can do both. He can go forward, move into spaces, and also retrieve the ball and distribute it well. So I think there's a good balance in that midfield, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with a cam, or someone just off the striker.
Yeah.
And Christie. Play Christie. Current form, he's been a new lease of life to Celtic. I don't know what it is, if he's playing for a move, that can be debated all day, but he seems to me that he's really came back, knuckled down, he took his game to the next level. And as I said to McGinn, even with Christie in behind that striker, because I think that how good his intensity, the pressing, and he chases every ball down, he'll chase a lost cause, and in games against Denmark, I doubt we're going to have a lot of the ball against Denmark. So for someone like that can really get about and interrupt their rhythm, and then obviously with that, he can score goals, as we've seen against Serbia. Can pop up, he can he can thread balls through. you've seen that against Dundee at home this season for Celtic. He's just really technically good, and his game kind of fit. I just think it's perfect for this kind of system that we'll play, because his pressing's so good. But then once we get the ball, he can have that eye on needle pass that can cut the defence open. And then up top, I've went for Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I think
there's no dispute.
I think he showed he was head and shoulders above Dykes, like when he came in, and then he obviously got his goal against Man U there recently, and albeit a deflection, but he does so well. He does so well at like getting himself about, and I think he is a better finisher than Dykes, playing at a higher level than Dykes, and he just offers a different dimension than what Dykes does. And you can argue that in a game like Denmark, you need to kind of hold the ball and kind of just pounce on them whenever like whatever chance you get. But so people might argue Dykes' aerial ability, or he can pop up with like a header if we need it later on. But I still think Adams can do that. Adams he's like a big boy. Do you know what I mean? He can still get himself about, and I do think that I just think he's different. He's a level above what Dykes is, and he deserves a start. I know you can maybe argue with Nisbet, but he's obviously, I don't know what the situation is with him. He felt unwell. I think it was, so it wouldn't be nothing too major, but I'd go with Adams.
Fair enough. So what is your prediction for the game?
I'd love to say I was the optimist, but looking at them from the Euros, like they're so much more united now after that unfortunate incident with Eriksson, and they're a team that would literally they would fight tooth and nail for each other, and they showed their qualities against England. I know they got leggy at about 60-70 minutes. They started to get leggy, and I think that's why it ended up resulting in penalties, just because. Oh no, was it penalties? Was it Harry Kane extra time?
Harry Kane extra time. The Sterling dive.
Aye. How could I forget? Aye. No, so I know we've waffled on a bit, so I want to give a prediction. I don't see us winning it. I'm going to go 2-0 Denmark. If I'm being real about it, I think.
Denmark playing that Denmark. Sort of fast-flowing, attacking football, and they scored 8 against Moldova. This is a sort of stuff we're up against. They scored 4 against Austria, and they comfortably beat Israel. So, I would love to say this is a perfect type of game for a Steve Clarke side, because we will be defending for most of the game. We will have to basically hit them on the counter and just see what we can do against them. So I would happily take a point, but I think we'll lose 2 or 3-1. Being realistic, I think we'll get a goal.
I was thinking about that, but I don't know. I just we've got with the team that I said. I think we've got like a solid foundation to go and score, but. Like, obviously, don't get me wrong, you can always score a goal in your day, but I just don't know where it comes from. They're pretty solid defensively. Yeah. And I don't know, that, as you said, they demolished Austria 4-0, and Austria stepped up in the Euros, and you've seen, albeit, I thought when I say stepped up, I thought they would have been like way worse than what they actually were.
Yeah, they were still solid, and I mean, Austria will come on to very soon, but they have some very good players in David Alaba, Kalajdzic, and
Sabitzer.
Many Sabitzer as
well. And look how Denmark put 4 past them and didn't concede, and they were in the knockouts of the Euros.
It's the fact that Denmark.
And look how much we struggled. Like Austria, we struggled to score in the Euros. Like majorly struggled. You were actually wondering, was a goal going to come?
Yeah,
and then obviously,
absolutely. But of course, I think we'll move on to the Moldova home game. I think can I take this one, because I'm actually looking forward to this game because I've got a ticket for it.
Well, if you want me, I was going to say to you. So for the Denmark game, is it only one you're changing? Is it the goalkeeper?
for me, the goalkeeper, and I mean, I don't think it's a game for David Turnbull, but I think you're pretty spot on with that team selection. Whether Steve Clarke agrees or not, we'll see on the day. But also, I will say right now, we will be going live 15 minutes before kickoff, doing a watch along for that game because it wasn't really possible for me to go to the game. So we'll be going to that. We'll be covering that on a watch along if you do want to come and watch. So next, Moldova at home on this Saturday. I'll just say this right now. I want us to go 4-3-3 in attack because this is a game against the bottom seed. We should, on paper, we should be going to score 3 or 4 against them because Austria and Denmark will have done the same by then.
Yeah, you've got to take advantage of the kind of goal difference aspect. Whether that comes into play or not, I doubt it. Because as you said, if we get beat off Denmark, it's then 7 points they're clear.
And then you're looking at, well, Austria have already dropped points against Denmark and us. So if we draw against Austria away, then it'll come down to goal difference if we're level on points with them by the end of the
I think we need 2 wins. So,
we need at least 2 wins from this break. Because we've already dropped points against Israel as well. So Austria do have that game in hand against Israel that we'll have to see. But for me, I want us to attack. I would happily say either play Kelly or Clarke in goals against Moldova, get them that experience that you were talking about earlier. I want us but at the back, 4 at the back, we'll go Patterson. Let's see, Liam Cooper, and we'll go with.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and we'll go with Kieran Tierney at left centre half, and then left back Andy Robertson. 3 in midfield. I want to say Callum McGregor is a mainstay, but I actually want to see we rest him for Austria, and we play. I want to say a midfield 3 of David Turnbull, Stuart Armstrong, and Kenny McLean.
I had that I noted that down. I think just in terms of game time, the amount of games that not that midfield 3, but for McGregor, I had Turnbull coming in for McGregor.
Yeah,
I don't know about a 4-3-3, mind you. I just based it off the same formation, so I just think that he wants to stick with that consistency. See if
don't get me wrong. Mate, this is based on pure fantasy because Steve Clarke side is never playing even more than 2 up top. But this is how I would line up. And then 3 up front. I might maybe have Ryan Fraser just in behind the front 2 as a sort of free roll. Either him or Christie, give or take. And we'd have Adams and Dykes up top. So either 4-3-1-2 or 4-3-3, whatever tickles your fancy.
I think it is a game that, regardless, you should be winning. There's no excuse if we don't win that. Maybe blending, the regulars in with a few new starts would be better just for that goal difference element. If we play a half strong team. But it's still going to be strong in comparison to Moldova. But if you play your starters, and blend them in with the new kind of players or the players that don't feature as much, then I think it will be good because obviously I do think rotation is needed. Callum McGregor, there's no way he can go on and play 50-60 games a season for the rest of his career. It won't happen. He eventually will burn out. I thought we actually seen that last season, but seems to have found a new lease of life as well this season. But
I do think having Moldova at home is very favourable for us as a sort of stopgap between trips to Denmark and Austria because of the intensity they play at compared to Moldova. Yeah, okay, I don't want to completely write off Moldova because that'd be unprofessional of me. But with their start,
We've been beat off Kazakhstan, so we can get beat off anyone on our day.
Yeah, I know.
But
that's the thing. But I really hope this isn't a game where we're just 0-0 at half time and it's all itchy, because it's going to be a packed Hampden. And if we can get a couple of goals in the first half, we can go on to win 3 or 4 maybe.
You'd like to think so.
Yeah, this is the game we have to absolutely stamp our authority early on in the game, because, I mean, this is a must-win.
Well, for the Moldova game, just because I actually I agree with most of the people you've brought in. I was thinking more like Fraser at right wing back.
Right.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. Patterson is an attacking wing back and he can do the job.
Mm-hmm.
But see, if you're going out to hammer a team, but you're playing in his system, which I do think, as you said, he'll be reluctant to change. I do think that, because we've seen Forrest in there before.
Yeah.
And we've seen shouts for Patterson in there before. Fraser. So I do think Fraser could hurt them if we play him. Again, rotational aspect, you're still bringing in an experienced Premier League player.
Yeah.
So you're not really weakening the side. Also said about Nisbet coming in.
Yeah.
Well, I've noted it down. As I said, he was unwell. That's why he didn't feature for Hibs against Dundee. But I think that he should be fine coming into the side. And I think for the glimpses we've seen of him and Adams together, they've complemented each other well. Nisbet is very good at coming deep and getting the ball under control, holding it up and spinning and getting in behind. And I think Adams can do that as well. So I think they, in my opinion, are our most potent partnership that we've got. So I'd like to see they two. And I'm trying to think of any other inclusions that I had. I didn't have Cooper noted down, but I do agree with it. I do agree with that.
Mm-hmm. I do. The reason why, for those Hibs fans that are about to jump down my throat for selecting Dykes over Nisbet, I selected Dykes because of the form he's in right now and the work he does off the ball. Because without his off the ball running, he doesn't get half the amount of goals or praise that he normally gets. And I think he would completely combust Moldova.
Do you need that against Moldova?
I think so.
I can understand that argument in games where you're needing to throw. As I said against Denmark, Christie's good for Christie and McGinn are quite good for intense pressing, disrupting their play. They know when to press at the right times. Against Moldova, we're going to have most of the ball. So in my opinion, if you're wanting to get a good margin, a victory, then play your most potent goal scorer, play your most clinical. And in my opinion, Nisbet is the most clinical striker we have now. Adams is probably the better all-round striker, but Nisbet's the most clinical that we have.
That's a fair argument.
Apart from wee Griff, 40 goals a season 6 years ago. If we get him fit again, we could have a player.
So my prediction for Moldova at home, I think we'll win 3-0. What about yourself?
Aye, I'm going to join in that one. I was thinking 3 or 4, but I'm going to go 3-0.
Yeah, I think it'll be a comfortable win in the end. Maybe a case of we're 1-0 up with about 20 minutes to go and just score twice.
Yeah, I was thinking that a slow kind of start. And then we grow into the game. But I think we should do it comfortably.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to Austria away. Would you say is this the same type of team that you would play against Denmark?
See, this one is difficult for me because it's not like, if you're the Scotland manager, you're going to go, right, we'll pick what game you want to win. Because ideally, in supporters' eyes, we need to win 2 out of the 3 games to, make sure we're comfortable. So Moldova's like a stick-on for that. Whether it's Austria or Denmark, a manager's not going to go pick one, but in my eyes, I think Austria's the more winnable one. I think that's fairly obvious. So I'm in the predicament where do I go with the same team as Denmark, or do you try and go for it a wee bit more? But I think I will. I think I would go with the same team because I wouldn't want to take the risk of like bringing in like a right winger for like a right wing back, so it just gives you that constant like deep, runs or deep line runs. So I probably would stick with Clark just because that's just a personal thing. Like I'm not saying I don't think Clark is going to play him in that game, but in my opinion he should. So I'd go with Clark. He's going to play, well, in my opinion, Patterson, Hendry, Hanley, Tierney, Robertson, McGinn, Gilmore, McGregor, and Christie and Shea Adams.
I reckon the only change I would make, the only two changes I'd make is probably, I reckon he'll bring in Stephen O'Donnell for the Austria game.
No, I think he'll play him all 3 games, to be honest, but just in my eyes, I think that he should play Patterson.
But I also think he'll still play Craig Gordon against Austria, because he still made a few good saves, and he couldn't do anything about the 2 goals that he did concede against Austria because they were just fantastic headers from Kleisic.
Don't get me wrong, Gordon's still he still is good. Don't get me wrong, but he's flourishing in a Hearts side that, as I've said, he knows he's the main man. That does so much for a player's confidence. Like he knows he's loved. He's like a legend there. I think. Obviously, I don't see him as that, but I think most Hearts fans find him as one of their best, or in the modern era or recent history, he's one of the best goalkeepers they've had. So when you're playing in a side, I think he's captain now as well, isn't he?
I believe he
is
might
it
be.
Him or Michael Smith?
I can't remember.
I thought Gordon was captain, but regardless of that, anyway, he knows he's the main man. It's the club he supports and stuff like that, and I think he's just flourishing in that environment more than anything. I think. Don't get me wrong, that's what you base your call up off. So he deserves a call up, and he's still a pretty solid keeper. But I just think a lot of people always go on about his experience and his, But then I've seen him in big games, and his experience hasn't shown. And this is at an era where he was at Celtic for a long time, and he was in his 30s. He was experienced. He wasn't a young goalkeeper. So I just think Clark. But that's just a matter of opinion in it. But I think obviously I think you're right. Steve Clark will go with Gordon.
So do you have a prediction for the Austria away game? Because this is the game.
I generally am going to be optimistic with this one. I'm going to say we'll sneak it 1-0. I think we'll have to withstand heavy pressure. We'll soak it up, and just a moment of brilliance from Ryan Christie will.
The funny thing is about Austria.
I mean, I think. Sorry to say about Christie. I think a moment of brilliance from him. As he's done it before, but I think he'll relish this opportunity. I think he'll know that he can make the difference going into these internationals, and I think I'll go for him or Adams, or him to supply Adams with one of them, through balls that no one else sees, and Adams will score.
Fantastic. I think the funny thing is with Austria, they're a bit like us in the sense that they always have one game every campaign in which they just completely have a mental block, and then they end up losing in a game that they shouldn't be losing in. For example, a couple of years ago, I think they lost 4-2 against Israel. I think the previous campaign they got beat 1-0 off Latvia, and that was Latvia's only 3 points of the group. So I'm hoping that this is going to be one of those games. considering we've already dropped points against Israel, I'm going to say I think we will concede, but I think we'll score twice. So I think we'll go 2-1 win away from home in Austria, and we'll be singing Do a Dear on stream live.
See, I was thinking about the 2-1, but it's like, where do our goals come from against high level opposition? Like, although I'm making a case for a strong team, it's like, and you know, there is potential for us to score with that team. Like we've seen in the Euros and stuff that we have struggled. So I think like games we win, it's almost like, you know, by one goal, like or that we score one.
Oh yeah, we're a 1-goal team. Like we literally win games by 1 goal. Like if Steve Clark could have anything his own way, he'd just be like, just have us to win 1-0 every week. I mean, I wouldn't complain because it's still a win, but I mean, it's never going to be an exciting brand of football with Steve Clark.
Nah, and I think fans will eventually get tired of that.
I think some are already
they are. After I was going to say after the Euros, like, you know, it gets to a point where okay, you've got us there, but now you need to like, you're in it. I don't know, like in my opinion, you don't want to lose heavily in the Euros and get embarrassed to get put out, but you want to at least make a go of it. And I just don't think like he'll get us there, but then to make a go of it, like we went out with a whimper, scored 1 goal, so I'm not fully against him yet. I'm like, don't get me wrong, like first manager to get us to a major tournament in our both our lifetimes, so it's a major achievement, and I think he deserves another chance. I'm not going to sit and dispute his contract extension, but I do think there will be questions asked if we start struggling to, you know, build on 1-goal leads and, you know, seeing out games and going into big games where we're just, you know, not making a proper go of it.
So, seeing where we are at right now in the qualifying campaign, do you see us making the top 2?
We're going off my predictions, because that would be another 6 onto the. I think we're second now in 5 points.
Yeah,
just double checking.
And I think the sort of threshold that you need for sort of qualifying is probably between 18 and 22 points.
Israel are on there. Israel and Austria are a point behind. Well, no, I think we might just edge it. Yeah.
You think we'll edge it? I'd love it. Absolutely.
It depends what happens in, you know, when Israel and Austria play. I'm trying to see when.
Because I think Austria still have to play Israel twice.
Yeah, so Austria are away to Moldova first, so they will overtake us because they should dispatch Moldova, and then they're away to Israel, and we've got Moldova at home. So that, and then they're obviously at home to us. So I think it will come down. It will come down to like the last game. But I think, you know, whoever wins that game will go through. I think we will probably need the win.
Yeah, and the thing is, we finished with Denmark at home, I believe.
But I'm talking about
one of our last 2 games. So I mean, I don't think it's completely over if we lose in Denmark, but I reckon with a packed out Hampden against Denmark at home, because it will be such a massive victory. I know this is a massive game, and I know this is quite far down the line. This is in November, but this will make it. Say if Austria are a point behind us or something like that, and we have to win, I reckon we do have it in us to win that game. But then again, we've fallen so many times on the last game before.
I know.
But
it's honestly hard to see us beating Denmark. That result, if we beat Denmark either home or away, that result will go down in history. Where, you know, like the France one and stuff like that. That'll be one that is like proudly looked back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Denmark.
We don't want it. Yeah, we don't want it to be a what if. We don't want to beat them at home. We don't want to beat them away. and then ended up not going through. Because imagine that, like, oh, we beat them, and that was such a missed opportunity. Do you know what I mean? So I honestly, I can't see us beating them either game. So they're at a different level. Like they were proper dark horses to win that tournament. I actually had a feeling like, see when the Eriksen moment, you just thought like, oh, is this maybe written in the stars for them? And obviously that penalty decision against them, shocking. So they need to make sure they've still got a job to do at the end of the day, and they need to make sure they finish top. Because if they don't finish top, I think they'll be looking at this group like we need to finish top, but that's an underachievement. So I do think it'll be hard to beat them home and away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think that's everything we've got covered. But thanks to Declan for coming on.
No worries,
showing his knowledge. And thanks to everyone at home for sticking on this long. And we'll be live for the Denmark and Austria games away from home. I'll be going to the Moldova home match. So, you can expect some Pass a Mic streams over the next couple of weeks. And thanks very much, everyone. And we'll see you later.